Do you know why Bill Gates is very successful? The internet has made it easier than ever to learn just about anything you want. So, with all this content and information available, how did you know which ones to learn from and which ones actually work? Luckily for you, Fortune Fastlaner, for today's video, we will be talking about the story of Bill Gates that changed the world. Remember that while the first step is completing any of these amazing courses, the second and possibly more important step is taking action, even if it's imperfect action. Some consider him to be a creative visionary who helped to launch the computer revolution. Others consider him to be a contemporary robber baron whose predatory methods have stiffed competition in the software sector. Few would disagree that Bill Gates is one of the 20th century's most successful entrepreneurs, if not the most successful one, regardless of what his supporters and opponents may think. He turned a two-man business into a multi-billion-dollar behemoth in just 25 years, becoming the richest man in the world in the process. But he did not invent a new technology. Rather, he took an already existing technology, tailored it to a certain market, and then dominated that market through creative marketing and cunning business acumen. Gates first encountered computers while he was a student at Seattle's elite Lakeside School. Young Gates was fascinated by the potential of the primitive computer when a local business offered the school access to it via a teletype link. He started skipping class to work in the school's computer lab with his friend Paul Allen. Their efforts would soon be rewarded. When Gates was 16 years old, he and Allen started a business. With Traf-O-Data, a program they created to gauge traffic flow in the Seattle region, the two teenagers made $20,000. Gates enrolled at Harvard in the fall of 1973 despite his love for and obvious talent for computer programming, possibly as a result of his father's influence. He was there, he admitted, in body but not in spirit, choosing to play video games and play poker instead of going to class. All of that changed in December 1974, when Allen presented Gates with a magazine article describing the Altair 8800, the first microcomputer ever built. Seeing an opportunity, Gates and Allen called MITS, the manufacturer in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and informed the president that they had created a basic for the Altair adaptation of the well-known programming language. Gates and Allen, who hadn't actually written anything, began working day and night in Harvard's computer lab after he said he'd like to see it. They had to simulate it on other computers because they didn't have an Altair to work on. Neither Allen nor Gates were confident the program would work when they took a flight to Albuquerque to test it on the Altair. But it did run. After leaving Harvard, Gates moved to Albuquerque with Allen and started Microsoft there. While Gates and Allen were already developing software for other computer startups like Commodore, Apple, and Tandy Corp, when MITS collapsed shortly after. In 1979, when the pair relocated the business to Seattle, Microsoft began to experience significant growth. After learning that IBM was having trouble finding an operating system for its new computer, Gates paid a small Seattle company $50,000 for an operating system, developed it into MS-DOS Microsoft Disk Operating System, and then licensed it to IBM. The brilliant part of Gates' IBM agreement was that while IBM received MS-DOS, Microsoft kept the right to license it to other computer manufacturers. Much as Gates had predicted, following the introduction of the first IBM PCs, cloners like Compaq started making compatible PCs. And the market quickly became overrun with knockoffs. Like IBM, the cloners decided it would be less expensive to buy MS-DOS off the shelf than to develop their own operating systems. Because of this, MS-DOS evolved into the industry standard operating system, and Microsoft sales increased significantly from $7.5 million in 1980 to $16 million in 1981. Up until 1984, when Apple released the first Macintosh computer, Microsoft continued to grow unchecked as it diversified into application software. Because of how much simpler the Macintosh's graphical user interface or GUI was used than MS-DOS, the Microsoft program was in danger of becoming obsolete. In response to this danger, Gates declared that Microsoft was creating its own window-based graphical user interface. In 1986, Gates then went public with Microsoft to raise money. The initial public offering raised $61 million and made Bill Gates one of the richest people in the nation overnight. Windows wasn't exactly the game changer Gates had anticipated when it finally released in 1985. It was criticized for being slow and complicated. Apple wasn't particularly happy either. They filed a lawsuit because they believed Windows was a copy of the Macintosh OS. It would take until the middle of the 1990s for the courts to rule that Apple's lawsuit was without merit. Gates worked on enhancing Windows in the interim. The program froze less frequently and ran faster in later versions. As independent programmers started creating Windows-based applications, Microsoft's own software saw a surge in popularity. By 1993, it was established that Windows was installed on close to 85% of computers worldwide, with sales of 1 million copies per month. By combining Windows with its other applications into suites and convincing top computer manufacturers to preload their software on every computer they sold, Microsoft cemented its position as the market leader in the mid-1990s. The plan was so successful that by 1999, Microsoft was recording $19.7 billion in sales, and Gates' net worth had reached an astounding $90 billion. But success has also brought scrutiny. Microsoft's rivals have claimed that the company uses its control of the operating system market to stall the advantage of new technology, a charge that Gates categorically denies. In spite of this, the U.S. Justice Department sued the business in 1998 for engaging in the practice of bundling software with Windows. A U.S. District Court ruled in November 1999 that Microsoft did indeed have a monopoly on the market for desktop operating system. Additionally, the court determined that Microsoft used strategies to stifle any innovation that threatened its hegemony over the multi-billion dollar company industry. Microsoft then agreed to stop some of its offensive practices as a part of a 2002 court settlement. Since then, Microsoft has been the target of antitrust actions by the European Commissions and individual plaintiffs. There are actually two Bill Gates, according to industry experts who are attempting to explain his enormous success. One is a computer whiz who can hack code like nobody's business, and the other is a hard-working businessman with an instinct for the market who, unlike most of his fellow Silicon Valley superstars, embraced commerce with ease. Gates was able to see what his rivals were unable to do thanks to this combination. Gates was concentrating on establishing standards, first with MS-DOS and later with Windows. While they were concentrating on selling software, he helped set the standards that have shaped the modern computer industry and will continue to do so well into the 21st century. Bill Gates' two favorite games as a kid were Monopoly and Risk, in which the goal is to rule the world. The other billionaire at Microsoft, although Bill Gates has come to represent Microsoft alone, Paul Allen is largely responsible for its current success. Microsoft veteran claims that Allen championed the company's biggest successes, including MS-DOS, Windows, and Microsoft Word, and that he wrote the majority of the company's first program. Allen's diagnosis of Hodgkin's disease in 1983, however, marked a turning point in his life. Allen was forced to reevaluate his priorities, quit his job at Microsoft, and vowed to spend more time taking advantage of the luxuries his enormous wealth could buy. For 2 or 3 years, he lived a good life, and during that time, the cancer went into remission. But instead of going back to Microsoft, he jumped into another startup, creating Asymmetrics in 1985. Before his death in October 2018, Allen, who later rose to prominence as one of the nation's most successful high-tech venture capitalists, also established himself as a well-known figure in professional sports as the beloved team owner of the NFL's Seattle Seahawks, the NBA's Portland Trail Blazers, and Major League Soccer's Seattle Sounders. With the creation of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the largest private foundation in the world with over $46 billion in assets, Gates has recently devoted a significant amount of his time to philanthropy. The foundation, which has received contributions worth billions of dollars from the other wealthy donors like Warren Buffett, is primarily committed to improving healthcare and reducing poverty all over the world. Bill Gates is a man who managed to rule the entire planet with an idea that began in his garage. You can learn how he was able to become one of the world's wealthiest people in this article. Childhood. On October 28, 1955, in Seattle, Bill Gates was born. His sisters were Libby, his younger sister, and Christy, his older sister. The future genius's father was a well-known lawyer who hoped his son would follow his footsteps. As a result, when he was 13 years old, he was transformed to the exclusive Lakeside School. On weekdays, parents did not turn on the television because they wanted their kids to be well-rounded individuals. During their free time, the Gates family read, played, and talked. While in high school, Bill struggled in grammar and civics but excelled in math. When Gates was in the 8th grade in 1968, Lakeside paid CCC for computer time. Paul Allen and Bill were frequently absent from school because they were so engrossed in the new sphere. Soon after, Gates created his first program, which lets users play tic-tac-toe against a computer. The first position. Bill and Paul successfully gained access to the dependable CCC system, which allowed the company to recognize their abilities. The young men were soon given employment offers by the Computer Center Corporation. They were given unlimited access to the computer in exchange for finding vulnerabilities in the security system. The young men began their work with Rapture. They invested ID network security flaws day and night while also becoming experts in the newest computer system. The young geniuses were already proficient programmers when CCC filed for bankruptcy in the early 1970s. As a result, they found employment at Information Science quickly and were asked to write programs for compiling payrolls. The first significant incomes. When Bill was in 10th grade, he started teaching computer science in the classroom and began to earn a good living. At the age of 17, Gates and Allen founded Trafo Data to market their traffic analysis software, in which they made $20,000. The creation of a set of energy distribution programs for the Bonneville Dam was another significant undertaking that took almost a year to complete. For this, the boys received $30,000. Collaboration with MITs. Gates enrolled at Harvard in 1973 but was expelled from the university 2 years later. The student skipped class because he found practice to be more interesting than theory. Allen read about MIT's first Altair microcomputer for the mass market in a magazine in 1975. The young people realized this was their chance because the machine lacked software but did have hardware. Gates had to make up for the fact that he and a collaborator had already developed the basic programming language for the company's innovation when he called MITs. The tech giant was interested in the proposal, so the friends were forced to build software from scratch for Altair in a month and a half using only school computers. The device approved Allen and Gates' design, and Amitz collaborated with them as a result. Microsoft was established 2 months later by Gates, then 20, and Allen, then 22. The manager was Gates' mother, who had previously served as a board member of a finance and telecommunications company, as the young people lacked the funds to hire a sizable staff. Due to bankruptcy of the first 5 clients, success did not come quickly. MS-DOS. In 1980, IBM ordered an operating system from Microsoft for the first personal computer. Due to IBM's inability to agree with anyone else, Gates was eventually forced to agree despite his initial refusal because he did not have his system. Tim Patterson had already developed the QDOS operating system, which Bill purchased from Patterson for $50,000. Bill then modified it for IBM and sold the company MS-DOS for the same sum. Microsoft could now sell the operating system to other computer-making companies since it now owned the rights to it. Microsoft continues to rule the software market. Everything started with the first idea. By successfully adjusting to the pace of change, Bill Gates has helped Microsoft maintain its position as the world's top software provider. Gates has not been involved in Microsoft's ongoing business affair for a number of years. The majority of the time has been devoted to charitable and neighborhood projects. He has co-founded a number of foundations, including the Giving Pledge, a foundation that encourages wealthy people to donate the majority of their wealth to charitable causes. The charity will receive more than 80% of Bill Gates' wealth after his passing. Many people find inspiration in Bill Gates. There are many lessons to be learned from his life and success story, including the need to remain committed to your objectives. American businessman, programmer, investor, and philanthropist Bill Gates. The world's top software company, Microsoft, was founded by him and Paul Allen. Their revenue in 2015 was $110.4 billion, and with a net worth of $100.6 billion, Bill Gates ranks as the second richest person on the planet. He served as Microsoft's CEO until January 2000, and at the moment, he advises CEO Satya Nadella on technology. He spent a lot of time working on the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, so he chose a less demanding position at Microsoft so he could devote more time to philanthropy. On October 28, 1955, Bill Gates was born in Seattle, Washington. His mother, Mary Maxwell Gates, and his father, William H. Gates Sr. He has 2 sisters, Libby Gates, his younger sister, and Christy Gates, his older sister. He enrolled in the private preparatory Lakeside School when he was 13 years old. He developed an interest in using BASIC to program the General Electric system while attending that school and was granted a leave of absence so that he could do so. On the General Electric computer, he created his first computer program. At the end of the school, Gates and Allen connected and collaborated to identify bugs in the Computer Center Corporation's PDP-10 system. In exchange for computer time and royalties, Gates, Paul, and 2 other students created a payroll program for information sciences. His school eventually learned about his programming abilities after he developed a program to schedule students in classes. He and Paul founded Trafo Data at the age of 17, with the goal of producing traffic counters based on Intel 8008 processors. Gates attended Lakeside School and graduated in 1973. He was a National Merit Scholar and his SAT score was 1,590 out of 1,600. In the fall of 1973, he enrolled at Harvard College, where he met Steve Ballmer. At Harvard, Gates didn't have a set study schedule, but spent a lot of time on the computers. He joined Paul Allen at Honeywell in 1974. The Intel 8080 CPU-based MIT's Altair 8800 was introduced in 1975. Bill and Paul viewed this as a chance to launch their own software business. Windows story. After reading an article showcasing the Altair 8800 in the January 1975 issue of Popular Electronics, Gates got in touch with MITS, the company that developed the new microcomputer, to let them know that he and others were developing a basic interpreter for the system. Without any written code, Gates and Allen wanted to determine MIT's level of interest. Within a few weeks of their meeting with the MIT's president, they had created an Altair emulator to demonstrate on a microcomputer before moving on to the basic interpreter. Success in the demonstration led to an agreement with MITS to distribute the interpreter as Altair Basic. In November 1975, Gates took a leave of absence from Harvard to work with Paul Allen after Allen was hired by MITS. They called the relationship Microsoft, dropped the hyphen a year later, and on November 26, 1976, Microsoft was registered as a trade name. In order to create a basic interpreter for the new IBM PC, IBM approached Microsoft. Gates suggested they contact Digital Research because they needed an operating system, but the negotiations did not go well. In response, Gates suggested using 86DOS, an operating system for PC-like hardware owned by SCP, in a conversation with IBM representatives. To become the sole licensing agent and later the full owner of 86DOS, Microsoft struck a deal with SCP. Microsoft delivered the operating system to IBM as PC-DOS in exchange for a one-time payment of $50,000 after modifying it for the PC. Microsoft became a significant player in the sector thanks to the sale of MS-DOS. Despite IBM's name being on the operating system, Microsoft was quickly identified by the press as having a significant influence on the new computer. A professional in the field referred to the computer as the Gates computer. On June 25, 1981, the business underwent a reorganization, with Gates taking on the roles of president and board chairman. On November 20, 1985, Microsoft released the first retail version of Windows, and the company also agreed to work with IBM to create the OS/2 operating system. The first iteration of the new system was successfully developed by IBM and Microsoft, but their relationship deteriorated as a result of creative differences. That's it for this video, Fortune Fastlaner. Remember to subscribe to our channel, and if you feel like we've delivered value, please share this video with one person. That's right, just one person, as a token of your appreciation for the hard work we all put together to make content that educates and helps you on your mission of building your own fortune. Remember, you can watch video after video, but it isn't until you actually take action that you'll start to see results. See you soon!